Welcome back. My name is Stephen, and today we're going to dive into some more unbelievable stories out there. The kind that make you question how one single decision can change everything. Today's episode is based on a true story, and I happen to know of the guy this story is about. It's one of those stories where it seems like a dream comes true at first, but quickly turns into a nightmare. This is the story of a lottery winner. He went from rags to riches to rags again. And he did it faster than anyone could have imagined. We'll begin by telling you his name was Dave. He was your average bloke. He worked a simple 9-to-5 job as a mechanic, living in a modest apartment, barely scraping by, but his idea of a wild Saturday night was watching the footy with a takeaway, a few beers, and he wasn't exactly the type to splurge on luxuries, but like many of us, every now and again he'd buy a lottery ticket. Just £1 here or £1 there, and that's of course when the UK lottery was just £1. That shows you how long ago it was. So, never expecting anything to come of it. After all, what are the odds, right? I think the most I've ever won is about £30 or something like that. Then one day, Dave's luck changed in a way that no one could have predicted. He checked these numbers one afternoon and boom, it hit him like a freight train. He'd got all 6 numbers. 6 numbers. The jackpot, which was roughly, for round figures, £10 million. And just like that, he went from worrying about next month's rent to having enough money never to have to work another day in his life. You probably think this would be the story would end, but not quite. You see, Dave, like most people, had no idea what to do with that kind of money, and at first he did what everybody would do. He celebrated, he threw a massive party for his family and friends, he treated his mates to a luxury holiday or two, bought his mum a brand new house, and paid off all the debts of nearly everyone he knew. For a while, Dave was the most generous bloke on the planet. But here's where things started to go sideways. Dave, flush with cash, started living a lifestyle he'd only seen in movies. Next came a mansion, a sprawling estate just outside London, complete with swimming pool, tennis courts and a home cinema. And then there was shopping. Oh, was there shopping? Clothes, jewellery, art, you name it, Dave bought it, even though he knew nothing about art. He met people at parties, people who weren't really his friends, but you know the sort. And they'd start making suggestions about investing in this, they'd say, start a business here, they'd advise. And without thinking twice, Dave would write a cheque. After all, money seemed to be endless. Sudden wealth, it doesn't come with an instruction manual. You have to learn how to deal with money. And Dave had never really had that. He began spending his money very quickly and it spiralled out of control. He wasn't just buying things, he was giving away huge sums of money to anyone who asked for help. Family, friends of friends. He felt like he had to, like it was his responsibility now that he was rich. And now more people heard about his winnings, the more came knocking. Dave, like many who suddenly come into wealth, found himself, addicted to everything, mainly frequenting casinos. At first, it was just for fun. Small bets, just here and there. Okay, it grew because of the excitement and the small bets didn't seem that much anymore. So he started gambling larger sums, sometimes losing hundreds of thousands of pounds in a single night. It wasn't long before he was deep in the throes of a full-blown gambling addiction. And as we know, the house always wins. But even with the money draining faster than he could possibly keep track, Dave didn't stop. He figured there was no way he could ever run out of money. He was a millionaire, a multi-millionaire after all. 2 years, Dave had spent almost every penny of his £10 million fortune. The cars sold off to cover debts. The mansion gone. The luxury lifestyle, a distant memory now. But here's the real kicker. Dave had alienated almost everyone who truly cared about him. This so-called friends who'd been up there for parties and the shopping sprees, they'd also just disappeared. The moment The money dried up. But the saddest part is that Dave had lost something far more valuable than money. He'd lost his peace of mind. He found himself worse off than before he'd won the lottery. Debt collectors hounded him. He'd even had to move back in with his mum. And every woman he'd bought a house for just a few years earlier had vanished. As for his gambling addiction, that still haunted him long after the money was gone. He'd find himself wandering into casinos, scraping together what little he had left, praying for just one lucky break that would fix everything for him. But it never came. I'd be wondering, is this just a tragic tale of misfortune? Did Dave lose it all without learning anything along the way? Well, here's the twist. In the end, Dave realised that the lottery wasn't the answer to his problems. It wasn't the money that would make him happy. It was relationships he'd taken for granted, the simple joys he used to cherish, the ones that didn't cost a fortune. Dave eventually picked himself up, not another windfall, but with hard work and determination, he went back to his job as a mechanic, the very thing he walked away from after winning the lottery. He had to rebuild his life from scratch, but this time he did it with a purpose. Slowly but surely, Dave found his way back to a simpler, more fulfilling life. Although he had lost millions, he'd gained something far more valuable and precious to him: perspective. So, what's the takeaway from Dave's story? Well, simply, really, money can't buy you happiness. It can buy lots of things, but not necessarily make you happy. It can't buy loyalty, and it certainly can't replace the important things in life, the things we tend to overlook when we're chasing other things like a fortune. So that's it for today's episode, and I hope you enjoyed Dave's story and it gave you something to think about the next time you are daydreaming about striking it rich.